We are live.
We're live. We're live. So we ready?
You might have to turn your volume up a little bit.
Let me see.
Go ahead. There you go.
It's up. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
You're a
Loud
little
and clear.
low, so if you can just turn your volume up just a little bit.
Hmm. Let me turn off this. How is that?
That's great. I can hear you.
Okay, cool, cool. Okay, great. We got this together. So we ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, all right. Welcome everyone to the pilot episode of Mask On, Mask Off, where we will talk about sex, the kinks, the seduction, the things that you may like to indulge in with people, your partner, anyone that you choose. It's a free space for you to talk about these things that you enjoy about sex and the things that you do that may expose yourself to it, and judgment free zone. And let's get to it. So we're here with, what should you want to announce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nate.
Nate, how you doing, Nate? How you doing, Nate?
So before we jump in, I'll
Hmm.
just say briefly, this podcast is uh a representation of where I am in my life. Uh, Recently turning 40. Not necessarily I'm starting to explore everything sexual, but things of that nature are starting to become more prevalent and more, seen outwardly in our communities and our life and on the internet now. And for me, it was a curiosity that turned into a lot of questions that I had. So, yes, we'll talk about sex. Yes, Harris will lead some sexual conversations in terms of, what you like to do, who you like to do, where you like to do it, all those things. But more so, just the general uh, ideas of what, who, when, where, why, how, and the whole sex kink, the new era of sex workers and such. So I'm giving this over to Harris to kind of explore what that means in terms of how he interprets it, but definitely trying to figure out a little bit deeper, asking a little bit more deeper questions in terms of sexuality and expression and all those things.
Absolutely, absolutely. But these things are things that people fear to talk about today. Me
Hmm.
personally, I've always been a person that have talked about sex. And when I do, it tends to make people feel a little uncomfortable because where we all do these things, some people aren't vocally able to outright say them out loud. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
They feel like judgment is going to come, or it's something that is, frowned upon, which it shouldn't be, because I mean, we all enjoy sex. We all have had sex. I wouldn't be here if my mom and dad didn't have sex. And facts. So where is nothing wrong with one not wanting to expose and talk about it, but at the same time, I don't think others who do should made to feel like it's something dirty to talk about, even though we like to get down and dirty. You feel what I'm saying? So, um, for me, sex is just energy, pleasure, getting to know one's body, what one's kink, the things that heats them up in the moment, the things that gets them aroused, the things that makes them feel good. And with sex, it could be anything like fetishes and different kinks and clothing like leather. I'm an underwear freak, so these things also are involved in sex, where it's just also just not in the touching, but it's also getting to know someone here, and exploiting that, get to know them and getting to open up more, that they're themselves, their body. You get what I'm saying? So, Nate, what are some things that you like sexually? What position are you, if you don't mind me asking? Or are you open to answering that? You there? You there? You there? Nate, you there? So let me just indulge more into mask on and mask off and the meaning of the title. So for me, mask on is the mask that we wear to the outside world on a regular day when we're going to work or we are around our friends and stuff, where we showcase, just us, our okay, us ourselves to the world. But then with the mask off is the underworld, where we showcase these other sides of us, this sexual side, these monsters, these things that we want to bring out, and interact with other people and share these great moments with. So that's what this show is about, is to, for those who feel comfortable and opening up themselves to the world, to people, to understand that, sex isn't a dirty or a nasty word. It's something that you should take pride in doing. It's something that we all do. So don't be ashamed of talking about it. Oral sex, foreplay, all that is involved in sex. All of that is fun things that gets you off, that makes you feel great and wanted by someone. It makes you feel, it's a confidence in it. For me, it's a confidence in it. I feel confident when I come into a room and I wear my sexual gear, my underwear, my harnesses, and and when I take off my clothes and someone see that excites me, when I see that someone is excited about seeing that, for me. So um, me personally, I have a page on Twitter. It's up here for you to see. It's Hershey's World. I'm Cable, aka Hershey, and it's something that I always had fun doing, but I never thought that I would make a page for everyone to see me in my rare form, and it takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of confidence, and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the communication with other people that enjoy it. I enjoy interacting with people and having these open conversations about sex, because I love it. It's a great topic, and it's nice to hear what other people's interpretation of sex is and what they like to do sexually, and the things that get them off. And this is what this show is about, is to show the world that it's okay. It's okay to have these things. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. Take the masculinity and the femininity out of it, because we get caught in what men should do sexually, like getting their ass ate. It's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you feminine, and in case it don't make you gay. It's just a sexual act, and it's something that gets you off. So you shouldn't be ashamed of a straight man allowing a woman to toss their salad, shall we say. And you shouldn't be ashamed of that, because it's a sexual pleasure. So sometimes we get stuck in these stereotypes, the stigma of what these things mean. People say this because of their own insecurities, and they put their insecurities on someone else when they shouldn't do that, because again, it's this pleasure, it's
So
sexual pleasure.
let's go back a little bit more, because I think the world that we're living in today, there's a lot of verbiage that's used to explain how people feel, what people's actions are, what people's thoughts are. And I think there needs to be a space where we understand that all of that is going on right now is new in that it's not that people just started feeling this way or just started doing these things, but how we express it, how we showcase it is new. And I don't believe it's always a shame that it's associated with it. It's just a new space that we are, in many cases, forcing people to be in that may be outside of a comfort zone, that may be outside of even the knowledge of certain things. Sex is definitely not a new concept, but how we are talking about it, how we are expressing it, it does. And I just so happen to come from a generation where even the person that you're with, they're called certain things. They're not necessarily, just open-ended labels out there, but those things are new. And I think respecting people's spaces and the fact that these things are not something that we've always done. Maybe if you're under a certain age, yes, this is definitely a norm to you. But for people over, say 40 or even I'll say 35 sometimes,
Mm,
it's a new space that we're in. It's a new, and we have to give people that grace to not necessarily catch up, but find their comfort zone in it. I think
absolutely.
we're so ready to push people ahead so we feel validated in our choices versus allowing people that grace and that space to make choices that are comfortable for them. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we definitely want you to be comfortable in this. And it shouldn't be forced on anyone. They should
Hmm.
be able to step out that closet, shall I say, on their own and freely, knowing that okay, I can do this. They open their minds, broaden their horizons, shall I say, because like you said, a lot of people 35 and over is something they're not used to. Like we have these new OnlyFans, Freak Twitter, just for
Hmm.
fans, where it's really taking over the sex world. A lot of sex content people don't like it, Freak Twitter. But these are things that are now new to the world, where a lot of people from a generation behind don't understand it, don't understand why this is happening. But
Hmm.
here we are. And, you know, I think it's something that should be embraced. I used to be that person that would sit back and be like, oh my God, why are they doing this? But it was also something that excited me because, again, I always talked about it. I was never ashamed to, have sex talk and let people know the things that turn me on, the things I like. Hell, I've been showing my underwear on MySpace and on up to Twitter. So I always been, you know, big and small, able to showcase my body, but I never thought that I would showcase what I do in the bedroom so openly to people the way I do. So it's definitely times have changed and
Hmm.
they're still changing. We evolve as people, and as people, we evolve sexually as well because that's a part of who we are. We are sexual creatures with that inner beast that is longing to come out, and some of us hold it back in a cage for whatever reasons it may be. But this is a time where hey, if you want to let it out, it's okay. It's getting starting to be more accepted. We still have a way to go, but and you're always gonna have those people that is gonna just frown upon it regardless. You can't worry about them. But you do have people from these generations behind that feel like I do are now more open to explore these things because of that. And that's one thing I do appreciate about, Twitter, Freak Twitter, and all these other spaces that allow us to do that. Yeah.
It's definitely a new space that we're in. Um, and me developing the idea of this show and just putting the name out there. So since I'm gonna say like the end of February, March of this year, I've been exploring just what this means on various platforms and just meeting and networking creatively with people in terms of what mask on, mask off means and how people interpret it and how they perceive it, and just trying to figure out, you know, what this could be, and definitely understanding the information that I wanted to accompany whatever this is, in terms of balancing it out. But I really think we're in a space right now where the rules are very blurred. In terms of what we should be doing and what we should not be doing. And I'm a person that believes that everybody has space to be themselves. But it is jarring to see this new industry pop up. And sex work is not new, but how we're able to do it today is new because technology has been able to get hold. Twitter has always been a controversial space, and one of the
Hmm.
reasons that I chose to broadcast it directly to Twitter was because Twitter has become this oasis of others, whether it be your political views, whether it be, social commentary, and now the sex work industry has gotten a hold of a part of Twitter and now has turned it into a marketing platform for sex work. And that intrigued me. That is what caught my attention,
Hmm.
because it went from simply doses of sex to now this is a medium for sex workers to be able to springboard or promote their work in a different way that's not just a VHS or a DVD or a website somewhere, but it's definitely that space for it now. So that's what intrigued me the most when coming up with Mask On, Mask Off, because I saw people living those double dual existence in life, and then having this space to be able to go to whether you are a participant or you're the creator on that side.
So speaking of mask on, let's indulge more in the title. So what does
Mhm.
mask on, mask off mean to you specifically? What does
Um,
it for you?
I think I came from the last era of discretion. I think my age range was that last hold to, and it's still, there's still definitely a space where people are still holding on to that discretion, the term DL or discreet, and not just on a gay aspect. This platform, this show is not simply for LGBTQ, but it's definitely, I think, pointed towards men or individuals that identify as men. But the the concept of that title was more so what we do in my generation, and I'm 40 now, so I say the late 35s to maybe like 45. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're in that space where we came from a space where, if our parents was dating someone, they were called a friend. It wasn't necessarily called a boyfriend or a lover or a partner, but my friend. And I think for me specifically, I've held on to a lot of those what I call values. Some people call them restrictions, or they're a bunch of these vocabulary words that are constructs and but for me it was a way how you carried yourself. How I knew plenty of hoes. I have 7 uncles that were hoes, if in layman's terms, but they carried themselves a certain way in doing so. And I'm not saying whether it was better or not, but the concept of discretion was
Mm-hmm.
very important to people because your value system, your integrity was very important at some point. And now it's just okay to just wear it all out. And my concern is those same individuals, what is going to happen when you turn 40 something, 50 something, and you decide that you want something different for your life? Now, all of this stuff is on the internet for people to see now. So that
Right.
life that you had at one point is no longer, you know, um, okay, I can just become Obama. No, it's gonna be impossible because those value systems, believe it or not, will still remain there. and you're gonna have to fight that image that you put out there. Whereas though myself and Cable at some point we were able to make those dumb mistakes and not necessarily feel like it's out there somewhere. Now, I think we were also that same generation where there may be some footage out there,
Hmm.
but who's playing a VHS right now? Who's playing a DVD right now? So, we still made those dumb mistakes, but it wasn't necessarily on the internet then. So I am glad, we had that space of growing up with social media versus it already being here, because now I know, and this is why I'm a very discreet person, because I know I've made those dumb mistakes and I
Uh-huh.
want great things for myself, and I don't want to be in a space where, I'm a baby daddy mayor or something like that, and your life is now on the internet for everyone to see. Like, I feel really bad for people under the age of 35 who, and just in general now, because it's 50 years old making that same dumb mistake. But I just feel bad because people, a certain age group, only know how to do this. So if you decide that, hey, I want to be a lawyer or I want to be a doctor, or those things still exist in the world on
Hmm.
somebody's hard drive. It exists. Somebody has screenshotted or saved it, and not to say you can't be those things because those things are out there, but it makes it really hard
Oh
in
yeah,
workplace environments
because we live
to
in a
exist.
world now. Not to cut you, but we do live in a
Mhm.
world now where people will dredge up these things when you're
Yeah,
trying to go forth in your world to try to bring you down, to try to
yeah.
shame you, to stop you in your tracks. I call them crabs in a barrel or haters. And,
Mhm.
typically to me, those are people who deep down they want to be able to do these things, but they feel like I can't because of where I'm at. So now that they see someone doing something that they in their minds or deep down their souls they would love to do, it's like a jealousy. So I'm gonna knock you
Yeah.
down since I can't do it. So I'm gonna stop you in your tracks so you won't rise above. And if that
I
makes
think
sense.
that, but I think that exists. But at the same time, I think sometimes when we make choices, we don't always think about our whole existence. And
Hmm.
not to say, and I used Obama as an example, but like when he became president, the worst thing that they could think about was his dad was Muslim from Africa, from Kenya.
Exactly.
Like, that was the worst thing that they could think of, and him possibly not being born here, which we knew was a lie, but uh, that was the worst thing that they could dredge up. And for some reason, up until this point, that has been the standard of how people live until we got a Trump in the White House where anything can go now. But a lot of us still hold true to some of those values, and they are values, and they're not necessarily constructs. And I think sometimes we use this new verbiage to erase dumb mistakes.
Hmm.
So, I can be a porn star and be president of the United States. You sure could. But how easy is
Absolutely.
that role going to be? You know, do you want that to be the standard of what your children and grandchildren can now see you as? Because you've made this Kim Kardashian lifestyle, where sex was the pinnacle of what you did, but now, that's what people will see,
Oh
you
yes,
know.
because yeah, this is true. And someone asked me a question. A good friend of mine asked me because, of course, when people find my page, they like to do this. So you gotta be
Hmm.
aware of those. When they find, they like to
Hmm.
talk and tell you about it. So it's like, oh, did you know that Cable got a free Twitter? I mean, grant they tell it it's hot, thank goodness. But they be like, it's hot, but he got a free Twitter. So a good friend of mine asked me. He was like, no judgment, but have you thought about how this may affect your working life, your personal life?
Right.
And In the beginning, I didn't, because I had two pages. A lot of people don't know this, but I had two pages.
Mm.
So I deleted one because I thought about that, but then I recreated one because I enjoyed what I was doing. And when he asked me that, I said, I have thought about these things. And I'm at a place now, I'm 42 years old, and I have a great job. And, you know, where whereas it's a lot of other things I want to do in life, and I thought about, would this stop the process of me doing these things? And I always said, no, I'm not going to allow it to. I'm transparent. I'm gonna be open and real. This is what I do. This is me. I think a lot of people really admire someone who's more transparent
Mhm.
and more real and out there what they do, and not trying to hide it. That's one thing I always said about people that do interviews. When they ask these questions about, oh, did you do this, and they try to cover it up or do this. I think the world, shuns upon people who don't stand real in who they are. And I always said, if Wendy Williams, for example, had me on her show, and it was like, oh, Harris, you got this sex cable, you got this sex page out here, blah blah. I was like, oh, okay, well, I got a better video in my phone.
Mhm.
Like,
But
this is who
let's
I
let's
am.
be
This is
honest, that doesn't work for everybody, and it
it.
is
Don't.
really a gamble to have that. And I'm not saying my life is squeaky clean because I've sent my share of, videos and pictures to people, to directly to people. But we can't act like that is the standard for everyone to be able to use sex as a catapult to a career. It doesn't work for everybody, and unfortunately, it doesn't work for everybody. But I don't think it should work for everybody. That shouldn't be because now look at where we're at. Sex has now become the vehicle to start a career in entertainment. That now is a standard. At one
Mm,
point, it was a standard to have a sex tape get quote unquote leaked in the world. And that was
mm.
to revive your career or start your career. And look how many people who don't have talent are now famous because
Oh,
they've had a sex tape.
now was that shade?
It is, but it's the truth.
Right, right.
Now you have people younger and younger, and now older and older. If I see one more, 80s rapper put a penis picture out in the world, I'm gonna go crazy. Like, but you have people now. That's the standard. If somebody sees a part of my body, because those things used to be private, you
Mm.
did not want those things to come out because it could ruin your career. But now it is turned into the standard of, okay, I gotta get my demo, I gotta get headshots, I need a sex tape. Like
Or let
it's
me
a part of it.
do a teaser like how Safari has with his penis, or you
Oh,
what's
that
the
was no
Soldier
teaser. He was
Boy,
full out there.
huh?
He was full out there. I don't think that was a teaser. But that's
But they do
but
these
look at that.
things.
We didn't know what Safari did. And we've met him, yes, on like the Love and Hip Hops and in connection with Nicki Minaj, but we met him like he became famous because of his penis.
This is
Like,
true
do
because
you like is that and you know if that's your thing, that's your thing. But do you want to be known like when you have children? He has children now, so the possibility of him having grandchildren and great grandchildren. When I think about my great grandmother, I don't think about her dropping it like it's hot. Like that's not the thought I have in my mind. But when they go to look you up and you're famous, your dick is gonna come up. Not
uh-huh.
anything profound that you left the world, not anything important that you contributed, but your dick picture and your OnlyFans page. That's what's gonna pop up.
Well, that's the beauty about this show, because I would like to use the show to also showcase the world that that's not what it's all
Hmm.
about with people who do that. For
Hmm.
me. And that's for me with the title Mask On, Mask Off. Is just that, that mask on is who you are outside of that sex life. That I am a professional. I do have this job. I am educated. I did go to college. These are the dreams and aspirations I have. Some of them I'm working on, some of them is still trying to come to fruition. But this is something that I love and enjoy to do on the side because I'm a human being. And this is just what I like to do. And
Mhm.
I think that's important for the world to know. Like I shared with you earlier before the show, I got into it with a lady on Twitter because a content creator put up a post about one of the porn stars Knockout who was arrested for attempted murder, and he said what's going on with these content creators doing these things to land them in jail, like the other two, John Tay Collier and Eric Dobbs, who was arrested for murder. And
Mhm.
he asked this question, and someone got on and said, well, that's because people who do these things, put out these videos or expose their bodies sexually on Twitter and do porn, that they are uneducated, they have a mental illness, and they come from broken homes and all this stuff. And I wanted to showcase that that's not the truth, you know. Whereas, and I think it's very biased. I think it's very judgmental and unfair to say this about these people because they are doing something that you particularly wouldn't want to do. And there's nothing wrong with someone keeping their values. I don't ever want to say that. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But we shouldn't put these people in a category where they're made to be nobodies, like they're like at the bottom of the totem pole, like you're not worthy or worth anything because this is what you decide to do, because to me that's far from the truth.
I mean, well, I'll say it like this: it's we can't give blanket statements because both sides are true. A
Okay.
lot of the people who have chosen this path have chosen it for a reason.
Hmm.
And it's not always to pay your way through college or, put some food on your table or feed your children. We love those stories because it champions, the underdog. But
like
let's
the
be
like the
real,
Cardi
a
B.
lot of people chose this because they did not make it anywhere else. Or they didn't have any resources to guide them anywhere else. If a lot of the people who have chosen this lifestyle had better resources, better guidance, better mentors, better home lives, they would not have chosen this. I can stand on that and say I believe that that would be true. Now, on the other side of it, a lot of people did this because we was in the middle of the pandemic, and a lot of people's livelihoods were pushed into a corner. So, I mean, the reality of it is, some people are doing it for the money. Some
Hmm.
people are doing it for the attention. Some people
Hmm.
do have an itch that they need to scratch, and this helps them to do that. So the reality is, people are judgmental. People are accusatory, but the reality also is there are a lot of people who are choosing this because they feel like it's the only thing that's going to help them, or it's going to get them through, or it's going to get them fame. And what has happened? It has. There are a lot of
Absolutely.
porn stars that are now reality TV stars that did not have any recognizable famous qualities about themselves that would have made them stars. And
One
now
thing I,
porn and their ability to take a penis has gotten them there.
One thing I've noticed that a lot of them also are rappers and singers. And I'm glad you said
Mhm.
that because it shows you that there is possibility after this. You know what I'm saying? You may not be that
Mhm.
judge that you wanted to be. You may not be the Barack Obama, but I kind of look at it like strippers, because strippers where, and that's why I brought up Cardi B, because strippers are
Mhm.
also something that is frowned upon. They, oh, you ain't gonna make it nowhere, you ain't gonna do this. Even prostitution, a
That
lot of
used to
people.
be the notion.
Exactly. And to see that artists like Cardi B and others who have showcased that this is what I did, and look where I am now. It brings a different perspective to it. You know what I'm saying? And
But when you look at a Carly B, Carly Cardi B had a personality. She
hmm
had a it factor about herself that some people did chose not to see because she was a stripper. But she
absolutely,
had a quality that made her stand out from everybody else on that pole, or then when she got to reality, and now that she's in rapping. And many people have said she's paid her way to the top. And many people have. You know,
absolutely,
some of the greatest talents had to have money behind them in order to be seen and respected. But, you know, that story cannot work for everybody. And we've seen that. We've
mm,
seen people who tried to follow the Kim Kardashian come up method, and it don't work for everybody. It doesn't. Some people don't take you serious. People don't really take her seriously. It's just that she became an icon at a moment that allowed that to happen. And now all the people who have come behind her, who have tried the sexual route, and not to say Kim Kardashian uh invented that, because like you said, strippers were that person before, and now
right,
they have respectability. Look at, P Valley gave a lot of respect to strippers, and things of that nature gave respect to strippers. Now strippers are athletes, and they are considered athletes, and they have their own dance studios, and they're now being used in these grand productions, music productions on stage at Grammys and all those things. They're being utilized now in a way that is more respectable. But
absolutely,
I think this
absolutely.
OnlyFans and this new sexual exploration, it's not going to turn out that way. It's not.
You
I,
don't
I
think
don't
so?
think it will.
I know a lot of them, a lot of the OnlyFans creators. Oh my goodness, it's one I want to name, and it's right there. Goodness, because I know we was going this route, and I know do my research. But
Mhm.
dark skin, thick, attractive, down south. But the point is, a lot of them now become models for clothing lines, underwear lines, and
Mhm.
this is money. They're getting famous because of these things, and fame isn't just being on TV and everything and making money. You see them on billboards, you see them on ads in papers, on ads on if you
Mhm.
anything on the internet where they are now models and showcasing and sponsoring, being the what is it called, oh goodness, the spokesmodel for this new
Yeah.
brand. and and
Yeah.
and so I enjoy seeing that they're also taking this and not just relying on the bedroom to make their money, but they're using it and also exploring other things that won't, again, I like to frown upon them, that will look down on them and say, oh, I don't want you because I saw you with your butt up and getting fucked in the ass with
Now, I'll say, because you've chosen that path does not mean you're not talented. Doesn't mean that you can't learn a talent. I'm
absolutely.
not saying that at all. But what I am saying is those individuals have created a market that has taken over what other people have worked hard for decades or years to obtain. I shouldn't see Cardi B on the same lineup as an Angela Bassett. I'm sorry if that sounds strange to people, but
hmm
they shouldn't get the same top billing to me. But they may possibly be in the same movie.
hmm
And Cardi B may be above Angela Bassett on the call sheet. Like,
hmm
that's a problem for me. And the problem is, especially with people of color, we've always been itemized for our looks, our shape, what we look, and that's the problem that I have with it, because we are further perpetuating the stereotypes that we are nothing but these buck style hot characters, that's all we have to offer. And at some point, where every generation has had their iteration of that, but we have to stop it, because we can't just be pieces of meat. One of my friends, he was a Twitter, Instagram individual who has now created an OnlyFans for himself, and he built his image off of being very well endowed and selling it. And he
Okay.
was very modest about it at first. I'll send you the photos because I'm trying to get him on here as well. But uh, he
Okay.
built his career off of that, and
Uh-huh.
who he is today is very depressed because he said it got him to movies. He actually was on a TV show. It got him to a TV show that was popular, but now everybody who wants to book him books him based off of the size of his penis and not because, and he's a very talented actor, but nobody will ever see that because every role he plays has to do with something sexualized. So and we write those characters in based off of what people see because now in entertainment, it's you're not built. You come to them as you are, and that's how they utilize you.
So should
And
that mean they should work harder?
they have to work harder to drop that image. Look at all of the reality stars who have tried to be actors or rappers or singers. They have to work. Cardi B had to work 10 times as hard as, say, Nicki Minaj because she came from that world stripping and reality TV to be taken seriously. And they should, because many of those people in that are actors, that are performers, have done the work for years. And all you had to do was pop a titty out, and now you got 10 million followers, and now you're being, asked to do this movie and that movie. And this for me is not a jealousy thing, but just know when they use you, that's all they're gonna see you as. You're
Now,
gonna always be the sex pot character.
now it's a point that you made. I want to go back to, and I think it's very important when you said that blacks, that do this. So, do you think
Hmm.
that whites get the same? Do they receive the same type of negativity that we receive as blacks when they're exposed for their things, or do it seem like they can get away with it and still shine bright in their world and do other things versus the black person? Like, we're gonna go to movie roles, like you said, they want to be, get these movie castings, but I've noticed that sometimes white people do the same thing. They make
Hmm.
content and do these things, but they don't seem to receive the same repercussion, the same that we do.
Hmm. I mean, look, but just look at. We can go as far back as like a Marilyn Monroe and Dorothy Dandridge, or for today's world, you have individuals who are of color who do and make some of the same choices, and sometimes it's by mistake. It may be something that was leaked that wasn't meant to be leaked, like Vanessa Williams. Photos that she took and not realizing she was going to be Miss America, and now she's Miss America. But now we have Miss Americas that have been on the cover of Playboy, and just the dichotomy of that it is very much so for us, we'll always be seen as not quality. And
Mm.
we sometimes set that standard within our culture, but they can do the same thing and build entire industry. The Kardashians have no talent whatsoever. And posing for a picture is not necessarily a talent if you have not studied it, if you have not worked towards it. If you were taking back shots and that got you to where you were, that is not talent. That
Because
is
look at him,
marketing. That is
look at him.
marketing.
We stuck on Kim Kardashian because and I notice in this conversation we bring up Kim, but not one time was Ray J brought up. And
Who?
but look at Kim. Kim has now got her law degree. She's now a lawyer, and she's helping, the criminal
And
justice
all
system.
that was from getting back shots.
And from sucking penis, and I thought the video was horrible if you ask me. But and I
But but
thought Ray
but see the
J.
difference and the reason, and many people make this a sexist issue, but the reason Ray J is never brought up in the same caliber as Kardashian is because Ray J had a music career first. Now he probably was fucking off all throughout his teens and on the set here and the set, but he had a music career first.
To fall back on correct.
Right. And this just, it actually did the reverse to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's getting all the claim where he's just the big dick black man.
Now,
And
don't
that's
get me
it.
wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. Ray J is a business mogul out there. He has the
But
scooters.
does
He
he
has
get the
the great
credit for that
cars.
though?
Huh?
He doesn't get the same credit that Kim would get from just putting her face on something. He has
No.
actually a tech industry. He's in the tech industry. He has a
Mm-hmm.
line of his own scooters and the Ray brand headphones. And not to say that it's any different, but look at how they look at. They don't give him praise for that.
No.
Versus she put her name on a bottle of Moscato, and it. Oh my God, she's such a businesswoman. You marketed back shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge.
Not at all.
I'm just saying there's a difference. And I just think if you're going to choose that, do it the best way you could. Be the best in it that you will be. Make it the best quality. Really make it work for yourself. Don't dibble and dabble in it. And then when you make a couple dollars, you try to go legit, quote unquote legit. No, like do it. If you will do it, do it.
Do
But
it. Stick
don't, just know that it is different. It is
Mm-hmm.
going to be looked at as different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you think that plays a part of her also being a female versus a male?
No, because I think if you were a non-black male, you're still going to be seen, you know, differently than, you know, your black counterpart. You're going to be seen differently.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the white rock stars who have had tattoos, and they still have the quality of who they are as artists. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
though when our black men do it, like a Safari, like, who else? The various and the game and Jamie Foxx and all these people who have put out have sex tapes or their penis picture has been quote unquote leaked. Like they're not looked at the same. They're not taken seriously anymore. If they were taken seriously to begin with. So
Which is a shame.
I don't think we should do it because it works for white people. Because
Right.
it will never work for you the same way. You may get some fame from it, you may get some acclaim for it, but in many cases, especially in Hollywood, how they meet you is how they will pursue you, is how they will see you. And will you ever get an Oscar? Possibly, if you're really talented. But in many
Absolutely.
cases, you'll always be put somewhere because these people who like the size of your penis will come see this movie if you're in it because they think you will show your penis. Like let's let as a I am a theater person, I'm an art entertainment person. That's the reality of it. They did
Mm-hmm.
not put Puff Daddy on Broadway because he was super talented as an actor. They put him there because there will be asses in seats because he's there. That's it.
Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, sometimes you gotta speak the reality of situations versus trying to speak around it because that's what's getting our children into trouble because they feeling like, well, if I suck a penis on Twitter, it's gonna make me famous. No, it's gonna make you infamous, which is
Mm-hmm.
much different than being famous.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and even being famous doesn't mean you're gonna be rich, wealthy, and successful. Famous just means everybody know your name. I know a lot of people who are well known who are dead broke. So our children are seeing these examples and they're trying to follow suit. Now all the girls got something sexual to say, and it worked for Little Kim. It worked for artists before Little Kim, but
Mm-hmm.
it don't work for you the same way. It hasn't been working for Little Kim. Little Kim is aging, and that does not translate into entertainment. She's
Right.
seen as an old hater now.
Mm,
It's not gonna work for you, and you're gonna get old one day. And those things, those looks, if you don't maintain them or do the surgery to keep them at that point, you gonna be considered a has been.
mm.
So,
Very true.
or never was.
It's very true.
But you
Wow.
know, so you had some thoughts on the world of OnlyFans and sex work and such.
The OnlyFans and sex work.
Hmm.
Wow.
I think we were talking before, and I think we were talking about the perception of those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll say honestly, my perception has been similar to that lady who you spoke to online. Um, and I think because many of the people who have chosen to get into this line of work or that line of work has been individuals who may not have had a lot of success in other areas of their life. They may have held down a 9 to 5 and it just didn't work. And they saw this as an opportunity. And I don't think everybody wants fame from this. I think a lot of
Right.
people just wanted the money. And but
It's
is
it.
are they really making the money like that to keep doing it?
That's the question. And I think that's something that a lot of people get into it and they don't really think about that aspect. They don't think about they think about more of the here and now. Hey, this is something I can grab onto. It's something new. I can do this to make money. Let me do these videos, but they don't think about the future, like you said, and how this can impact their life when it comes to you know, trying to build something outside of this because this don't last forever. Just like music careers, ages don't come to play as you said. All these
Hmm.
things come into play that they don't think about, and I would love for them to think about it because we're more than this, and I don't want no one to feel shame for it because you shouldn't be, but you have to think about what this may cause, how this will affect you, shall I say, as you get older in
Yeah.
life.
But the
And
world is different though.
yes, it
There's
is.
a Lunel just started an OnlyFans page. So there's a space, and what is interesting, there is a space for everybody because now, you know, going a little bit further into what you'll be bringing up shortly, but kinks and fetishes, people are more open about what turns them on, and it's not what the typical look is anymore or what was seen as beautiful or sexy. And there's a space for everybody now. And me researching this, I came across a website called Fat Life. And I'm not gonna talk a lot about Fat Life until they sponsor us more, but Fat Life is it's like the Facebook for kinks and fetishes. So,
Mm-hmm.
and me exploring that site, you realize that there are a lot of people who like what they like, and it's not always what TV standards say we should be liking.
Right.
So, I think it's a space for everybody, but who can sustain that? Like, are you, are we going to now start seeing people retiring from OnlyFans pages, or like, what will that look like in the next 20 years?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 'Cause everything has an expiration date,
Right.
and they
I mean,
don't
it
think about it.
does. Sex is so. When we were, I say teenagers, we were sneaking into our parents' rooms or to our uncles and aunts' rooms watching their porn.
Absolutely.
You know, but you don't have to do that now. If you have a phone, you can find it.
Which
You
now,
don't have to call 1-800 numbers anymore.
no.
You can go to an app
You don't
and
have to
find
steal your
somebody.
mother's card and go on pay-per-view and rent the sex videos from HBO and all that Showtime and all because I did that.
Mhm. I
But
had
you don't
I
have
had
to do that no
cable
more.
in my room. I had a big screen television in my room, and at some point, as I began to get older, but it was accessible
Hmm.
to that extent, but it still wasn't what it was today. Like in the beginning, you had to use, you had to steal your mom or your dad's credit card information. But now it is, you don't have to call 1-900 numbers or 1-800 numbers. It is as easy as downloading an app.
Or just going on Pornhub.
Right, like it's so accessible now. I would not have gotten into trouble as a kid. Not to say I was just so crazy, but I remember a moment where I brought up one of my stepdad's porns to middle school and got caught with it.
Oh, you
And
were a bold little kid.
not bold, just you
Oh,
know,
that's bold.
excess. I mean, but to me, it wasn't bold.
Hmm.
I didn't sneak into it. I just did it. I was already watching it, and that's when you had to learn how to rewind tapes back to where you found them at. So today those things aren't accessible. I remember being a teacher during the pandemic, and children were playing porns over the Zoom class time. So, and
Well,
these were elementary schools.
sheesh.
So, I mean, nothing is. If you can type it in or Google it, you can see it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you
Um,
think the world of social media is the cause of this?
um, it has allowed it to be accessible. I don't want to blame social media because that's like blaming the gun for murders. But it
Oh,
it has definitely given people the freedom to explore in ways that we had to like. I had to learn how to rewind tapes, and that used to be hard because you had to make sure you got it down to where they were watching it last,
uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
so you had to
Oh
get.
my
And
goodness.
tape decks wasn't always that fancy. My stepdad had a fancy VHS system that you can see the numbers move backwards, so you just put it to the time that it was on. But
Hmm.
that used to be hard. So you did not do things because you didn't know how to not do it. I remember my first introduction, like around the time we first met each other, I had discovered web TV. And I think we was probably like 19 or so, but I discovered web TV. And that just opened the doors to Yahoo chat rooms and AOL chat rooms, and to know where we are today, like it is. If I'd have just waited, I would not have gotten into half of the trouble that nobody knows about that I did. If
But
I'd
we
have just
lived
was
a
like, I'm
life.
gonna wait.
But we lived a life and no regrets on it.
I
Oh
mean,
God, the
I don't
nostalgia
have
it
any
brought.
regrets, but I do.
You do.
Because again, curiosity. We don't teach our children about themselves and their bodies, and a lot of those things where we could have gotten into a lot of danger if
True.
we weren't already in danger
True.
with
Very
some
true.
of the access that we had. and
Very,
and it was
very
so
true.
the access was so primitive, but a lot of it wasn't necessarily permanent. But these children are leaving permanent, you you know uh footprints in this world. So if they decide to be anything beyond what they are now, it will follow them. And I'm always thinking about, I don't want one of my nieces to be able to like, and years down the line I pass away and they be like, you want to see the artwork my uncle did in his life, and then me out there wilding out pops up in a Google search. Like I don't want that. I don't ever want that to happen. You know, is that a
But
thought for you?
for me, I thought about that because, like you said earlier, and I'm glad you brought that up. Was 2020 for me? 2020 is what exposed me to free Twitter. I was never involved before 2020. I was never out there like that before 2020. And in 2020, where you just sitting home and you be able to explore things, you know, I came into free Twitter out of nowhere. I was like, oh, this is here. This is the thing. And I seen people doing it and I would gas. I'm like, oh my God. And then, of course, I would see some people I knew. I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't know this was here. Kind of find out it was there
Mhm.
before 2020. But it struck my curiosity because, again, I was sitting home, you know, not making money. And a lot of it for me, just to be real and open, was out of depression, boredom, stress, don't know what to do. And I was like, you know, let me explore this, let me see, you know, and see where it would go. The attention was great. And then when the world opened back up, that's when I canceled my page, the first one, because I was like, oh God, the world's opened back up. I don't want my, you know, people to see
Mhm.
this. I don't want my nieces and nephews to come across this while I'm alive, you know, my family and friends. I was ashamed that my friends would find out about this. They knew I was wild and crazy, but to see it visually is two different things,
Mhm.
you know. And I thought about all that. And it just came to a point where I didn't care. So I made another page. And I do care. I think we quit to say we don't care because I still do care. Like you said,
Mhm.
I think about when I pass, you know, what they may see, but I'm dead and gone. So ain't like they can ridicule me for these things, but it's still a thought where, damn, this video could pop up and, you know, they'll see this. But then I'd be like, will they say anything? Because they'd be like, oh, why are you looking at gay stuff? You know? So I say
Mhm.
that to myself to kind of give me this way of, oh, I can do this because ain't nobody gonna say nothing. Now they exposing that they look at gay videos, and you know, and
Mhm.
given how, you know, being gay is still you know, frowned upon, you know, I don't think they want to expose themselves to be like, I saw her on this video, because now it's open up questions for them. So I try to use that as my way of, I can get away with this, but that's not realistic, you know. And I'm gonna put that out there. It's definitely not realistic. Um, it's just something that don't affect me like I thought it would. Um, I do think about my livelihood. I do think about the doors that could be slammed in my face because of this. But you know, I'm gonna live in my truth, and this is who I am. This is what I started, and I'm not going to backpedal because, you know, one want to put it out there and stop me from being, you know, who I want to be in life. Um,
Mhm.
I think people just need to stand true to what they do, and know what you're doing before you get involved with it. Take all, it's research. Make sure that you cover the dotted all your I's across every T before you decide this is what you want to do, and don't just jump into it because you see your friends and other people doing it and they making money. You're like, oh, I can do this without thinking about tomorrow, because this is
Mhm.
just today. Tomorrow's a whole new day, and with whole new challenges and everything. So um yeah,
It's.
yeah.
I mean, it. I'm not gonna say I never thought about doing it, but my motives, I always have thought about one, the mistakes that I made that were similar to that, and how
Mhm.
I felt about, not knowing where that video is, or will it ever surface, or it was real fear of becoming successful, and those things come out. And I'm not saying they prevented me from really pushing forward, but in many cases, I did not try as hard because I was like, if I do this, then this person will put this out because they are that type. Like, but you really have to think about your life in terms of what you want. And one of the problems as somebody who's in an educational field, young people don't think about the future because
Right.
many of them don't see themselves in the future, one, and many of them don't think that greatness will be attached to them. Everybody dreams, everybody want bigger things, but because we are not, especially people of color, aren't always associated with that type of life, and it seems like there's only room for one or two people. Some
Hmm.
people sell themselves short by saying, "Well, I'm gonna do this, and I got this," but it is really, you have to really think about what that looks like. Even in me doing this, it was real methodical, real purposeful, and real deliberate how I did this.
Hmm.
I just recently attached my brand to it, because I had to go through the phases of, oh, so it's not going to be this, but it's going to be this, and it's going to be, and me even really starting a Twitter page, based on this. That was scary because not so much that I care what other people think, but I've worked hard to build my creative self, to throw it all away for what? Some pictures and a photo, and it just, you have to be mindful. I always tell people, be mindful. Everybody who I know, um, who has started the page and they'll talk to me about doing it, I'm the friend that's gonna be supportive. If you want to do it, hey, just do it great.
Absolutely.
But I think some people have not thought about tomorrow
Mm,
and pursuing it. And not to say it should prevent you from doing it if it's something you really want to do, but is this really what you want long term? What are you going to do with this 10 years from now? What are you going to do with this? Because just because you take your page down, don't mean that people didn't screenshot you. Don't mean that it doesn't still live on, everything still lives on the internet. And
absolutely.
some people don't know that. I don't care how many times you erase something from Facebook, it still exists somewhere.
It's
You just
there.
don't know how to get to it.
Is definitely there. Well, on that note, I just want to say I thank you for creating this space for people to be able to come
Hmm.
and have conversation and know this is a judgment free zone to be able to talk about the things they enjoy sexually and their lives and their pages and stuff. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's going to grow. I think it will also be a teachable moment for others as well, and for people who also frown upon it if they find it, if they discover it, and
Hmm.
and see that it's more to people than just their sex videos, and I think that's important. So sex is here. It's always going to be here after I
Hmm.
die. It's something that is it's life, and I'm excited about this show. I'm excited about the
Hmm.
future of it. I'm excited as far as it can go. I'm excited for the exposure will bring positive, not negative, but the positive exposure will bring because I think that's what's needed for this this industry, this type of work
Right.
that we do. And I appreciate you for this, and I appreciate you for having me be the host of it because hey, I love to talk about it. I love this, and that's all I wanted to say on it.
But
So,
I'll just to piggyback off of that.
mhm,
There will be conversations around sex work. There will be individuals who are considered sex workers being interviewed on this platform and having conversations. There will be individuals that have kinks and fetishes. There will be that dialogue. But this is open, and more specifically, I'm not saying who can listen, who shouldn't listen, but I'm saying the the people who this is being directed to, it's about giving them a space to be able to share their journeys, their stories, and spaces in a space where they can be open about it and not be concerned with, someone judging them. Now, I can't control who will watch, but what I can say, the guidelines and rules and boundaries of this platform is that we open up the doors to understand some people who are in sex work have been molested, have been touched inappropriately, have had domestic violence or abuse in their past. But there are a lot of people who that's not true for. A lot of people stumbled on this or, were, tricked into it or decided that this is a means for them. But I want to know the story behind a lot of those things and not just, it afforded me a new car or a new home. I know people who have really done well with it that are average, everyday people, not just stars. But I want to get to the bottom of a lot of those conversations, or at least be able to open a door for open dialogue, not just about why you do it, but the process and what goes into you being able to maintain that. I know some people who have done this for a number of years now, and like stripping, like prostitution, like escorting, it has been a means for people to move out of certain situations. And I'm into that. We have a big example of, say, like a T.S. Madison, who has really built a career off of doing it. But a
Absolutely.
lot of it does sound like you're glorifying it. And it's not. When you're in it, my experience in terms of talking to people, it's not that glitter. And I want people to be and I want people to be able to see the journey so they can make sound decisions for themselves, and not just they see the end result of somebody owning a mansion somewhere. But I had to suck dick to get there. I had to
Right.
take a lot of back shots to get there. That wasn't just, you know, I somebody just gave me a blank check one day and I could stop. But the reality behind that is real mentally tasking. And I
Mm-hmm.
just to go back a little bit more to what the lady said, a lot of that is true. Like for you, and you just said it. You're factors that went into it included depression, included not having work, included, and it may have served you in a space of having freedom and domain over your own sexuality and your body. But would you have made that decision if you were still working full time and you didn't have any bills piling up for? So we have to be able to tell the whole story and not just the pretty one. Are these
Absolutely.
individuals? I used to do bookings for strippers back in my day,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them had regular jobs. I remember two of the guys I did bookings for, they were city employees who had really good jobs and really good benefits and a family at home. But it was something about this that intrigued them. And they got good at it and they made money from it. And a few of them got to retire earlier because of it. But I know just as many people who are now strung out on drugs or dead or killed themselves because the lifestyle took over their mental
Mm-hmm.
mental selves. So I want to know the whole story.
Absolutely.
Some of these people that we may talk to may be currently in depression or
Mm.
coming out of depression or headed to depression or have been raped or molested, or I want to hear the story.
Yeah, because
Because I want to humanize the people in the same way that some people bash or, put them down.
they definitely got lives outside of this that we don't know about, and
No
that's
matter
the
what that
point.
life may look like.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, this has definitely been an interesting conversation, and I can't see what plans you have in terms of moving it forward. Yes, the concept was mine, but I am leaving it up to interpretation. And I want
Absolutely.
you and your guests to figure that out along the way. And there's no destination for this, but it's going to take a bunch of turns. And it's going to be a little raunchy at times. It's going to feel raunchy, but definitely, I think the conversation will super exceed any sexual or explicit content that you may see initially.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in saying that, folks, we are about to end this broadcast. So I
Mm-hmm.
hope you enjoyed Mask On and Mask Off. I hope you are intrigued. Please, if you're listening, tell people that you know that are into that lifestyle. Or even you, you are. This is a free zone. This is a safe space. And let me say that again: a safe space, judgment free. We are here to have fun. We're here to get to know you and understand you better, and for you to also help those who may be interested in doing what you do. Because a lot of people follow you and they see these things like the Kyla Beans and all these other people that Memphis Strokes and stuff. You know, we see these things, but we would like to know what it took for you to get to this point. What were you know, how your life was, you know, the struggles, the everything, the excitement. And we want to know exactly what it is that you enjoy about this sexual life that we are now experiencing in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And in saying that, Nate, thank you for
Mm-hmm.
this. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. And on Thursdays, we'll be back again. And we love you all. Thanks again.